Today's Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, and this is a video about Isaiah chapter 24. And I know that I've talked about this chapter before and said things about it, so I'm going to repeat myself, I know, in a few spots, but I think I have some new insights. And if you're looking for something in the Old Testament to read, here is one chapter from Isaiah, but the entire book of Isaiah is very readable and applicable for today. And I think that anything that is talking about end times prophecy is talking about today. So it's like it was written for us. And let's begin. Isaiah chapter 24, verse 1. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. So already, we'll see later that Isaiah is prophesying about end times, but already I find this very applicable to today and to things that I've woken up to in my awakening. One thing, it's a small world, and you know how they come up with these insanely big lies about everything. And one of those is the population hoax. They want you to think that that Earth is so overpopulated that it can't even sustain itself. But all you have to do is hop in an airplane and fly and see that the Earth right now is almost entirely just empty land. And one thing that popped into my head this morning when I was thinking about it is just how I know these people they're like middle-aged and they've already been to every country. You know, people that they like to brag, "Oh, I've been to 200 or whatever countries." I know people that they weren't like 100 years old. They were in their 50, 60s or 70s or something. This was a while ago. But they had already been to basically every country in the world. And it really is a small world. There's really not that much, and a lot of places are just the same. And especially today, it's like, have you noticed that especially today with the internet and with all the shipping we have worldwide, it's like there really isn't even any reason to travel anymore, practically. And every place has basically become the same thing, more or less, at this point. And anyways, make it that waste. The Earth is mostly empty space at this point. You know the Georgia Guidestones? It may already be true that the population is less than 500,000. They may be lying about it that much. I've never actually sat there and counted the amount of humans, and neither have you. It's just not something that any of us have the ability to do. And yeah, population hoax. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go off on too many extreme rambles, but I think the earth is basically empty and laid waste today. And I think that in times past, there were way more people than there are today. Today is just like an illusion. Anyways, verse 2, I think, is another interesting verse and applicable to today. I think it's basically talking about in the end times, it's going to be equalized. It's going to be like communism. And maybe that's what the whole communist scare was about in the Cold War era or whatever. I think that communism is something that is just a part of end times. No, I don't mean to get political. I don't even really understand all the deep political theories or anything like that. Just the idea of everybody being on the same level, I think, is what is being talked about here in Isaiah 24, verse 2. As with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. Back then, it was all about what social class you were a part of. And today, it basically is too. It's just more hidden. There's still the pyramid, and they just pretend it's not a thing anymore. Except for in places like India, where they'll admit that, no, that's still how the earth works. We have our classes and etc. But I think that this is talking about that's all going to go away in the end times. And a big thing that's being pushed these days is the idea of equity and making everybody equal, making everybody the exact same. It's like nothing but participation trophies for everybody. No such thing as they got to prop up the people that are down and smash down the people that are up. That's what they're pushing for today. And I hear about it all the time, just people talking about education, it's all about this equity thing. And maybe you've heard some insane stories about, oh, we have to stop focusing on the correct answer because that's racist. There really are articles out there today that talk about how focusing on the right answer is like white supremacy. It's just crazy how crazy the world has gotten today. I said I wasn't going to ramble, but it looks like I'm rambling. I try not to, but there's so much that can be said. Continuing on, Isaiah chapter 24, verse 3, the land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. I think this has to do with the fact that today there's no more old world or old growth forests. Almost every old forest has been chopped down. Didn't Europe used to be covered in forests? It's all been chopped down. America used to be covered in big trees. It seems like the very first thing that they did when they came to America, it seems like they just went around and chopped down all the big trees. Land has just been spoiled. And I guess another thing to think about is a lot of people bring up how there's a lot of structures that look like old mining tailings, and who knows how much mining and excavation and stuff has already happened on Earth. And it's like now what we're left with is just the Earth has already been spoiled at this point, most of it. Just some thoughts I have, because I know that people have brought up that there's certain, what they tell us are geological formations, that they almost look like just huge mining operations of the past. So that's what this reminds me of, that it does appear that the Earth is now at the point where almost all of the easily accessible resources have been taken. And I just thought of, there's a bunch of TV shows about people doing extreme measures to mine for gold and such. Maybe that's because there really probably isn't such thing as as big gold mines anymore and lands rich in gold. They probably have to get it in different ways. Continuing on, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Just whenever I see stuff like this, I get reminded of curses are real. And it seems like I don't know why people don't talk about this more readily. It would have been a big drawing point for me, I think, if I knew that the Bible seriously talked about things like curses and sorcery and necromancy. If people knew that the Bible seriously talked about that stuff, seriously talked about giants, and I just think it's a disservice that the plastic, phony view of Christianity, you see that they totally accept scientism, whereas anybody that's religious should be pushing spiritual things. And instead we get these people that claim to be Christian, but they accept this, or I don't know that they believe it, but they push this like 100% physical interpretation, where they pretend like magic isn't real, but the Bible talks about sorcerers and enchantments and curses. Okay, continuing on. And they that dwell therein are desolate, therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. So this you could think is just going back with the fact that the earth is empty now, and if you fly in an airplane, you'll see that the earth really is empty. I personally think that the population today is really low compared to times past. And think of things like the Georgia Guidestones. They want to keep the population very low today. And here it talks about few men being left. So you can think of that in just a broad sense of today, the whole overpopulation thing is a hoax, and there are very few men left today compared to what it has been in times past. Think of the giant empire that left these huge cities all over the world that look the same, the huge masonry buildings. Their populations must have been just huge compared to today. And there's the second interpretation of this about the men in particular. And if you know about my videos, you know about free martins and all that, there's another interpretation there. Literally few men left who aren't castrati. Moving on. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. This verse applies to me in particular, and I think to I just know that a lot of truthers have had alcohol problems or are currently struggling with alcohol problems. I personally was an alcoholic not that long ago, but before I woke up, it was like part of my awakening process. I my life was seriously going down the toilet. I'm blessed to just be alive today, and I stopped drinking, and right after that is when I started getting all these awakenings. And yeah, it seems like more people drink today to drown out the sorrows than to be celebratory. So here I have I don't know how big, but something I've never mentioned before, I don't think. The city of confusion. So that's just a really I I really like that word, city of confusion, that phrase, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's worth thinking about. The city of confusion is broken down. And it's almost like saying that the veil has been lifted for the city of confusion. Is it talking about Babylon, mystery Babylon? The whole point of a mystery is that it's something you need to figure out. The city of confusion, I don't know, it's just a phrase that I think that there's something there, and it's broken down, and it just reminds me of how I used to be confused about a lot of stuff, but now things are so clear now, and it's like we're just waiting for the end. For a lot of us, all of the confusion that we've had all our life has been cleared up, and now it's like we're just sitting around waiting for the end. Here, though, is something that could be about all the lockdowns in end times. So I made a video talking about how 2020 is probably not hindsight. It's probably the opposite. These people turn everything upside down. 2020 is normally thought of as hindsight, but I think that they are using 2020 as an idea of foresight, and all of the lockdowns, all of that stuff. I think that's gonna be just a major part of end times. It's gonna be a big lockdown, and the mark is going to be introduced, and anybody who doesn't accept the mark is going to be totally shunned from society. So here, every house is shut up, that no man may come in. That's exactly what's going on right now. There's all sorts of people out there, the people who really believe what the TV said, the ones who are just bottom level of the pyramid. All they do is react to the programming. They might know how to throw a few gang signs, but other than that, they're just totally duped, and they buy into this stuff more than anybody, it seems. And these people have been living like crazy, even worse than me. And so I don't know if these people are real. They could just be fake bot comments making you think that people like this exist. But I mean, I have neighbors that I see them wear a mask when they go for a walk. It's just insane to me. And when they come to their neighbor's door, they're wearing a mask and not wanting to let people in. And people really have stopped. There are a lot of people out there that have stopped taking visitors for like a whole year just because the TV told them that it was spooky. And anyways, so here, I think that's fulfilled. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Isn't that what the lockdowns are? It's basically the lockdowns. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. So I'm getting to another point. These verses 11 and 12 is another kind of big point why I wanted to make this video that I think applies to today and end times. Does anybody else feel like the crazy amount of homeless people is just biblical in proportion? I think that's these verses 11 and 12. There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. Well, the whole idea of a gate is that gates are supposed to keep people out. By the way, did you know gate is 33? Unreduced gate is 33. I think that's why gate gets used a lot. Probably why it's Bill Gates. Probably why in high school in America, I think throughout the whole education program, I don't know when it starts, there's this program called GATE. And have you noticed that acronyms, a lot of times it seems like they start with what they want the acronym to be, and then they create the words. They go backwards. It's like they wanted it to be GATE because there's a lot of implications of the word gate. It's like a portal. It's a way that you come in and out, but it's like a locked one, typically. There's a gatekeeper, and gate is just an important symbol, you might say, and it equals 33. So here, I've just noticed I live in a city that should be a nice city by all. It really should be a beautiful, nice, safe city. I don't even feel like that anymore because there's some areas in my city that have these insane homeless encampments. And with that comes just a lot of crying for wine in the street, you might say. And the mirth of the land is gone. You don't see people walking around in the park holding hands and being merry. Now you see like 30 homeless tents up there in chaos. Anyways, so the gate is smitten with destruction. I think it might be hinting at the fact that cities today, they can't even do anything about homeless people coming in and building up their camps. And you could also say that they're talking about this idea with the whole, in Seattle, they had the people build their own city, and same thing in Portland. They have just these crazy groups of people that are coming into the cities and making a mess of it. And this is when, so read the next verse. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Wherefore glorify ye the Lord in the fires, even the name of the Lord God of Israel in the isles of the sea. From the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me! The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Okay, so what's going on here, talking about some people in the end are going to be singing because we're going to be so excited that that's the best day ever. And for other people, it's not going to be the same way. So this is like a compare and contrasting. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. So in the end, you cannot be scared. And I think that a lot of evil people, when they see that the end is coming, they're going to try to run away, but they're going to get like swallowed up by the earth, and various other horrible things are going to happen to people. And yeah, I guess it reminds me of Lot and Lot's wife. No turning back. When Jesus comes, people are going to come outside and watch it happen. And I think some people are going to be taken away, and then just total chaos is going to be on the earth for everybody else. And for people left behind, I don't think that 100% means that. I think that they still have a chance to refuse the mark of the beast. Anyways, I'll just read again from the top. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open. Literally the firmament will open up, and the foundations of the earth do shake. So this is one of the places in the Bible, one of the many places in the Bible, where different people are talking about the same thing, and they use the same type of imagery to talk about it. I mean, not even necessarily imagery. This is just literal. Literally, the windows on high are open. The firmament is going to open up. The sky will open up like a scroll. Multiple parts of the Bible mention this. And also, multiple parts of the Bible mention the earth shaking like it's never shaken before and will never shake again. And if you've grown up in California or near there, you've grown up your whole life hearing people talk about the big one. They know. There's something mysterious and strange about California, and on old maps it used to be an island, and now it's not. I don't know if there was humans. I think that in the past humans have done strange things to change landscapes, to obscure history. Dried up rivers and dams can greatly change the way that things look. Anyways, there's something about California. I think it's literally going to rip off from the United States when the end times happen. That's how big this earthquake is going to happen. It tells us that mountains are going to go down. Huge mountains are going to go down. And yeah, everyone will know when that day happens. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall, and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. So a great read, and a lot of things that you can piece this together with other parts of the Bible that talk about end times. I think here gets into the timeline a little bit more. When end times are being talked about in other places like Book of Revelation, to me the timeline seems like maybe whoever's telling the story, it's not linear. And here though, the way that's spoken, it seems more like linear, where the sky's going to open, the earth is going to shake, people will be collected, and I don't know about the being visited. So I don't know what verse 22, but that's something that you could definitely study and try to figure out what's going on there. But then verse 23 then talks about the moon confounded and the sun being ashamed, which I'm guessing means when the sun loses its light, which is talked about in later verses. Anyways, just the point I'm trying to make is a lot of the timelines on this end times thing, it seems like sometimes it's ambiguous, but here in Isaiah, it almost seems like it's laid out in a more linear fashion. Not saying I understand it completely though, but here it's something that you can go study. Book of Isaiah is just a great read. And that's it for this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and God bless everyone.